Part 3. In parts 1 and 2, I argued that we have feelings of right and wrong that we share with the higher animals. But of course I recognise that we enjoy levels of consciousness which cause us to believe that we have the capacity and the duty to choose our courses of action for ourselves. And what we need is some guidance about what might constitute a principle on which we can make these choices. We'll call this section Direction of Travel. So this is not to say, that's what has gone before, is not to say that we are the prisoners of biological drives, some of them moral. I believe in consciousness, in self-examination, and in our capacity and duty to choose the right thing. The trouble with feelings is they are conflicted. We have to decide when to go with one and curb another. And we need a rationale for such decisions, a fixed moral direction, a star to travel by. In this age of relativity, fixed directions are hard to come by, but I know of one. Raymond Flood and Michael Lockwood edited a highly readable little book called The Nature of Time, in which P.W. Atkins has a nice piece about the second law of thermodynamics. Over time, says the second law, according to Atkins, things tend to get worse, to disperse, to get in a mess. By things is meant particles of matter, energy, and coherence. This is the character of universal systems. They run down. Ultimately, everything ends in cold chaos. Well, here is a direction, the direction in which things change, the drift to maximum entropy. But that's not what happens round here. The flows of energy which characterise the universe's progress to shambles provide opportunities for local reversal of the process. Anyone lucky enough to be situated between a hot star and cold deep space knows at first hand how in these circumstances the direction of change is reversed. Order springs from chaos. That has been our own situation for thousands of millions of years, and hopefully for as many to come. Our direction, the one by which we can set our moral compass, is the direction of increasing order, increasing assemblage of structured information, increasing understanding, increasing complexity. How does this happen? Look around. It's just the astonishing nature of the world we live in. The physicist Richard Feynman describes how, as a PhD student, he was once awakened from a deep sleep in the middle of the night by a call from his supervisor, John Wheeler. Wheeler was desperate to share an amazing new insight. He had realized why all electrons are identical. Because there's only one electron, he insisted down the phone. Is that amazing or what? Alas, that theory didn't survive the cold light of day, but it's the premise of the question which is really amazing. Electrons are of a class of fundamental physical particles which are in principle indistinguishable. If they were distinguishable, the laws of physics would be markedly different. Electrons are highly mysterious entities, sometimes behaving like bullets, sometimes like waves. They can and often do pop in and out of existence in a puff of energy. In the right conditions, they link with those other fundamental particles, the proton and the neutron, to form atoms of hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, and all the elements of the periodic table. And the elements, as everybody knows, readily jump into bed with each other to form up to 30 million chemical compounds. In time, admixtures of the more complex compounds, in the right proportions, burst into life. This is change in the direction of increasing order. It happens because of the remarkable, unfathomable nature of the stuff of which everything, including us, is made. This is no heap of inert grains of sand waiting on an imaginative designer to make a cathedral of it. Where there's energy about, stuff pulsates, hops and grows in ever-increasing complexities as it develops until it develops imagination. The new life forms diversify and compete for the occupation of environmental niches. Some niches are so precarious as to be available only to highly ordered organisms. The force responds. Some niches can't be held by individual organisms at all, but only by groups acting cooperatively. The force responds again. When my grandparents of fond memory were born, all this would have been called magic. The process generates plants, grazing animals, prey and predators, signalling, language, enumeration, patience, curiosity and exploration, happiness, social rules and moral feelings. And finally, through our species, levels of consciousness sufficient to support love, introspection, wonder, imagination, aesthetic transport, rationality and the building of complex instruments and artifacts beyond the reach of biological evolution working on its own. It may be said then that our universe is on the march in the direction of diminishing entropy. We are its current front rank. Those things are good which are conducive to the continuing expansion of knowledge, creativity and control. Those things are bad which impede it. We have a thrilling opportunity to take this work forward to new heights of knowledge and structure, and we have our own special human capacity to apply knowledge imaginatively and creatively. All our faculties are honed for the task. We can write symphonies, paint pictures, frame and test hypotheses about how the world works, cook meals, plant flowers, build garden sheds and pyramids, record our knowledge and transmit it to new generations. In a sense, it's our function. If we're not up to the job, we'll be gone and replaced. It's a plausible deduction from the facts I've given that, like the central supervising characters in Arthur C. Clarke's Childhood's End, we're here to take control, to pilot the ship prudently through the next stage of its passage, mindful of the fact that the journey is long compared to our lifespan or even the lifespan of our species. We can only do it together, and our collective effort requires a great supporting infrastructure, a spectrum of individual roles wide enough to accommodate everybody. It also requires the set of socially cohesive moral sensibilities with which we are all endowed. We need to harness our endowment to the project. He who turns his back on such a challenge should feel shame for a dereliction of duty. He who takes the tide at its flood earns a universal accolade. Isn't that why we should be good?